So again, coming back to this document, that we need more evidence, and as a consequence of this, I was fortunate enough to be on the Complementary Therapy and Lifestyle Clinical Trials Development Committee, which is a branch of the NCRN, which is basically a government body set up to try and promote clinical trials for cancer. And what we did as a group, we said, well, come on, everyone's taking these supplements. We know that 70% of people with cancer have tried supplements. Let's try and develop one which actually has some evidence behind it and do a decent trial to see if it works. So we sat down in a group, and it took 18 months, actually. Next one. So they're going quite quick now, the slides. Sure. And we sort of had a league table of about 20 foods which had the best anti-cancer properties. There's probably many more than that anyway, but we were looking at the ones which had undergone laboratory trials, animal studies, cell line studies, and some clinical data. We wanted to find foods which would work together. That's called synergistic. You know, there wouldn't be any sort of, if you have too many foods with the same sort of, from the same plant, for example, you could actually get toxicity if you take something for longer term. So we came down to these 4 foods: green tea, curcumin, pomegranate, and broccoli, as the best bet to have an anti-cancer property. And for the things I said in the second slide, this green tea tends to reduce proliferation, curcumin tends to encourage cells to die when they ought to, pomegranate is a good antioxidant, and broccoli, actually, we know that if you have a lot of broccoli, you get 180 genes which have changed the way they express themselves. So we put it together into a pill. We got money from a charity, and it was a government-funded study. Obviously, because it was a randomized trial and run through the government, we had to find a company to make it, because this is a scientific study. This was not a promotion. This was not a commercial study. But we managed to find a company in Yorkshire who was able to make it to a high enough standard with all the impurities tested for, and to have authenticity, because I wasn't aware that 40% of supplements actually have things they're not supposed to have in it. So we got it made, and we picked prostate cancer to start with, because there is a group of men with prostate cancer, as you may know, who actually aren't on any hormones or chemo initially. We can just see how they go, and obviously it's not open to interpretation that there might be an effect of hormones or chemotherapy or something. So we randomized just over 200 men to have either placebo or the food supplement, which supplement became known as POMI-T. Next one, please. This was really nice. This was the target set to us by the government of recruitment. Within 6 months, we'd reached our recruitment target. Just shows how much interest there is from patients, which was fantastic. So we finished 10 months ahead of schedule, and we had 50 more patients to make it very powerful statistically. And this was the most exciting thing. When we went to present the results, we thought we'll try ASCO, which is the world's largest and most prestigious cancer conference. And they have all the big pharma there, AstraZeneca, Novartis, and things like that. And they asked there's 10 research projects from around the world to be presented as an oral presentation. And we were very fortunate to be invited to be one of those. So we were the only non-drug trial. And so it was a bit, nerve-wracking, 28,000 people in the audience. And that, what it showed also, not only is it good for us, but it showed they're now beginning to take food and nutrition seriously if you're putting yourself on the podium. So the tide is turning. And this is why we were invited, I think, because there was a very clear difference in the PSA between the randomized people on the POMI-T versus placebo. And that was very statistically sound. And as the trial was run through the government, it had external auditors and statisticians. That was clean data, as they say, and highly significant. Next one. This is just to wake you up in case you're getting a bit tired. And also to remind me that people said, oh, you just suppressed the male hormone. These were phytoestrogenic compounds, but we deliberately picked chemicals which weren't phytoestrogenic, because there's some issues with phytoestrogenic foods, and prostate cancer might actually make it worse. So it wasn't phyto, and we measured testosterone. There was no effect on testosterone at all. And there was also people would say, well, you just affected the PSA, you didn't affect the tumour. Well, we're presenting in Copenhagen in June the results of 200 men who've been on POMI-T and had MRI scans, and the people whose PSAs went up, all the tumours got worse on MRI. So there was a strong correlation to actual disease and PSA. So that defeated the critic. So what's happening next? The company who supplied us for the trial have now commercialized it, which is good because someone needs to make it. They have a website, so it's got all the trials on it. We published it in a journal, but we're keen to do other things academically with this. And we were very pleased to see that Jack Chuseok, who has been voted in one of the top 10 scientists in the world, who works in St. Bartholomew's Hospital in the Institute of Preventative Medicine, he approached us and said he wants to put POMI-T in the next national trial, which is going to be a randomization of vitamin D, POMI-T, and aspirin versus placebo. So he obviously thinks that's the combo to go for. But obviously it needs to be proved. But we've also had some other sort of interesting things going on. I'll just give you some case reports. This was a 79-year-old woman who had colon cancer resected, spread to the liver, but it was unfortunately unresectable, and but asymptomatic. So we said, look, you can have chemo, second-line chemo, or you can just see how you go for a while. She chose the latter. She went into an exercise referral, joined the gym, stopped all sugar and processed meat and other carcinogens, and she increased the amount of polyphenol-containing food and took POMI-T. Next one. She had lung met, this lady as well. And this was the lung met after 2 years. It actually got smaller. So we've still got chemotherapy on the shelf if she wants it, but remains completely well, enjoying a full and active lifestyle. Next one. And I've got 50 of these cases. I'm just showing random ones. This was another bowel cancer who'd, again, same thing happened, relapse in the pyrrhotic nodes, inoperable, but asymptomatic. And we said, well, let's just watch you for a while. And we had, this is an important thing, had 2 CT scans showing progression. Because sometimes people take an X-ray, see a node and say, oh, well, that's cancer, but it's actually not cancer. So they have these amazing results. But these are actually definitely cancer because the marker was going up and the node was getting bigger. Next one. And this person, went overboard. Well, not overboard. Was very enthusiastic. Joined a gym. Previously never did any exercise. Walked daily. Joined a walking group. Did all the right things, took POMI-T, did a nutritional test, found to be profoundly vitamin D deficient, which is quite important, then took vitamin D, and there was, obviously correct and known deficiencies, what Memorial Sloan Kettering is saying we should do, and the pyrrhotic nodes, again, 2 years later, smaller, and the markers came down as well. Next one. This guy's going to be on Channel 4 in 2 weeks' time, so I don't know what program it is. They filmed about a month ago, and this was an incredible story. This man has metastatic prostate cancer. He presented with a PSA of 300. He'd had radiotherapy to the pelvic nodes, relapse in the abdomen, had radiotherapy there, had hormones, had Taxotere chemotherapy, and it was the time of the abiraterone trial. So he was about to go into the abiraterone trial, which is now standard treatment. But his wife started making him broccoli soup every day, which mucked up our trial recruitment because his PSA started dropping. And we thought, well, we can't put him in the trial now. And then every day he makes broccoli soup, and then after 2 years when POMI-T was around, he started taking that as well, but can't claim the credit for that because he's already got better. And this was the CT done last week. That was his lymph node. That was after some broccoli soup. Disappeared. His PSA is 0.2. So nobody knows why. The only difference is he didn't do anything else. He started making broccoli soup every morning. Now there is a gene which if you are this special gene deficiency of glutathione deficiency, which is broccoli is very high in glutathione. It's probably he's got some funny gene. So don't think we're all going to be able to make broccoli soup every morning and be cured, but probably 1 or 2 people could be, including this guy. So I say to my patients who've tried everything, well, try broccoli soup, you never know. And as I say, you'll see on it's Channel 4, you'd have to look it up what program. This is a woman who emailed the company who insist on sending me the emails, which some of them I find interesting, but the other 3,000 a week I don't. Which said she started taking POMI-T, the hot flushes went. So she stopped it again, hot flushes went back, took it again, they disappeared. there's absolutely no reason why Pomi-T should help hot flushes. It's not phytoestrogenic, but clearly it made a difference. Now we've been asking other people, and some people say, well, actually now you mention it, it might have made a difference. So put that back on the back burner. Next slide. We also we're very worried about arthritis in cancer survivors. Next one. And we had some emails of people who were taking Pomi-T and saying their arthritis got better. This is obviously like the nail picture. This is the extreme example, the other way around. This was someone who was about to have a knee operation, took Pomi-T, the knee got better, and they cancelled the operation. But I think that's probably the best scenario. So anyway, we sort of thought, well, arthritis is important in cancer survivors. Not only is it very uncomfortable and it affects 55% of patients, it actually stops patients exercising. We've already heard that exercise is really important. So it's actually, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? If you can cut the arthritis out at the origin, you might be able to get people more mobile. So we've started doing some work with Arthritis Research UK, next one. We looked at what people were taking, and most people take glucosamine, chondroitin and fish oils, of which, to be honest, I do see some people who say they get benefits from these, so I think they do benefit some people, but their conclusions in 2 meta-analysis was they think it's of doubtful significance, so they don't really think it works that well. My view is it probably helps some people very well, but not most people. Sorry?
That contain this stuff called sulfur.
Sulfur, yeah.
They've done some early experiments with mice.
Correct.
And found that it may be, they're hoping that it might be a breakthrough with arthritis, but apparently broccoli sprouts, rather than just broccoli, because the broccoli sprouts are really rich in this
sulforaphane, and indoles,
And I just wonder whether there was anything.
Yeah, well, you've preempted my next slide. Fish oils help rheumatoid, but there's not a lot of evidence for osteo. Next slide, sorry. But when you actually look, because we then went back to I've now gone back to that group where we did the Pomi-T style, and we're now trying to get a pill for arthritis now. And it exactly is what you've just said. When you actually look at the evidence for what could help arthritis, it's not shark's cartilage or some sugar. It's actually the polyphenols again. Polyphenols have anti-inflammatory properties, which can help the pain. They have antioxidant properties, so if you go out and eat a Pringle or leave some or have a barbecued sausage, it sort of mops up the free radicals. And the way arthritis forms is you get exposed to a free radical or oxygen species, which then goes into the joint, and then your inflammatory pathways go into overdrive, and it's that proliferation of inflammation which causes the damage. And once that sort of cycle has started, the chondrocytes, which is what form the cartilage, they actually start committing suicide because they sort of think there's some catastrophic thing going on. And then it forms these things called metalloproteinases, matrix metalloproteinases, which is the enzymes which tell cartilage to decompose. Polyphenols in many studies have shown to block all 4 pathways. So we're obviously just looking at the cure really for arthritis, as it were. I mean, it's not going to change if you sort of jammed your knee in a bottom of a bus or something. But so I'm surprised there's not more research on this, to be honest. But there's lots of lab data. There's a nice study with rats, poor little things, who actually they induced arthritis, gave one group curcumin, another group not curcumin, and they put a chemical in them which gave them arthritis within 6 weeks. And if you covered them with curcumin, you had a much lower risk of arthritis. So we know that can happen. Next slide. So what we did, we went back to the group and we said, well, look, we know that those things work. So because Pomi-T was getting anecdotal reports from the media and it contains most of the things in there, we're going to use that as a base, but we're going to add actually some rosehip and pepper for various reasons I can't go into now, it doesn't take too long, but that would enhance the effect. And we're going to start again and do a randomized trial, 210 patients, and they're going to randomize for placebo. We're going to throw in hot flushes there because of those emails, and we're going to throw in breast pain, quality of life, exercise levels, more importantly, and that trial's going through the regulatory process now. It's already got a U-track number, so watch this space. I believe there are other trials of sulfurine which are ongoing as well, but they're actually quite far behind us. They're still on the animal stuff. Next one, and that's it. So it's sorry I went on a bit longer. The website has information on diet. Lots of it's a bit dated now, but there is a newsletter which I'd recommend. It only goes out once a month. I promise you won't be in it. I always put the POMIT website on because my research manager usually shoots me if I do a talk, because we're nothing to do with that. Well, we are. It's our baby. It's gone on to the big wide world. It's produced in 50 different countries by about 10 different companies now. We don't. So if you want any information on that, you contact them, please, not us. And again, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to join. Thank you.